Welcome back to the channel. My name is Torrence, and in today's video, honey, I am bringing the drama. Now, first thing I want to put out there, this is just my opinion. I understand you may not agree with that, and I really understand the brands ain't going to agree with this, because baby, the last thing a brand want people out here doing is telling them not to buy something. Brands like profits, they like selling things, they like growing, and the only way they can do that is if we keep purchasing things. But I'm not sure if this is something that's been done by anyone else before. If I figure out that someone has done this idea before me, I'll make sure to leave them linked right here above. But I haven't found anyone so far. But for today's video, I really want to tell you about 5 so-called universal things that you really need to stop buying. Makeup brands have a tendency of using words that they like to use to make sure they can hit the largest demographic. Because once again, to get profits means to sell things, and the more people we sell items to, the more money we can make. And unfortunately, a lot of things that are sold as universal really don't fit as many people as we would like to think. Because when I hear universal, I like to think anybody can hit it. And for me, that term, as someone who used to freelance but is now on YouTube, when I hear universal, I like to say, can Nikki Tutorials fit it with her fair skin? Can Nima Tang fit it with her deep skin? If it doesn't appear to work and look flattering on those 2 women with their skin tone, as well as the people in between, how universal are you, sis? Yeah, you may fit most skin tones, but do you really fit all skin tones? And unfortunately, in my opinion, most of these products do not fit that category. But before we go into those 5 items, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, I would like to say thank you. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And don't forget, if we hit 250 subscribers by Saturday, I'm going to be posting my very first anti-haul. So make sure y'all join the gang and get us to that 250. And the first thing on this list, which truly inspired the video, contour palettes. As you can see, I have 2 of them because the brand KVD Vegan Beauty, they make one universal one that you can buy online. It's already pre-made. I believe you can even still get it in store. But as someone who used to freelance, I needed a wide range of different powders. So I went in and I made my own custom ones. I have 2 of them here. The top palette is more neutral to cool toned. The bottom one is more neutral to warm toned. And I have these here because you never knew which client was coming through the door, and you never knew what their complexion was going to be like. So I wanted to make sure I had a wide variety of colors to make sure everyone was satisfied with their look. Once again, this is something I needed to do other people's makeup. If you are at home and you are doing your own makeup on a day-to-day basis, you don't need a whole palette of contour powders to get your face done. And for years, that contour palette was a best seller for KVD as well as Sephora. Everybody had it, including myself. But the very first time I ran out of it and I realized I needed to purchase another one, imagine thinking you have to go back to Sephora because you use this product every single day, but you are only using 1 shade out of the 6, but have to purchase all 6. I didn't like it. I was upset. So imagine how exciting that was when I found out they're releasing singles. I could go back in now, get the 1 shade I used, and you see how much he's been used now because I absolutely love this contour powder. So there's no longer any need to purchase a huge thing with 6 colors when I know I want that 1 shade. I have 1 face. This 1 color works. And for most people, you only need that 1 shade. Let's say for any reason you do happen to need 2 shades. Once again, getting those 2 individual shades will be cheaper than buying an entire palette and hoping I can find my shade. Because that universal 6-pan pre-made one they make doesn't contain all 12 shades that they sell. But you can buy the one that you want individually and keep it moving. Let's say for some reason you do want a contour palette, do not get one that claims to be universal. because when they're trying to please everyone, it's you who may never be completely satisfied. If I give you just a little bit, you just a little bit, and you just a little bit, nobody got a lot. I don't want to pay you a lot of money and get a little use out of it. I want to be able to use everything in here because I paid for everything. So what I would recommend is getting you a contour palette that's more suited to your skin tone, such as the Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Palettes. This one here is in medium to dark, which would be my complexion, but they also have a light to medium and a dark to deep. When I open this medium to dark one, I see I have two different shades that I can actually use, whether I want something soft or whether I want something more structured when I go in for contour, and I can even possibly use that sculpt shade as a bronzer. And this even comes with a highlighter that fits my skin tone. It makes sense to buy that knowing I can use all three shades instead of going in with something like this that says light to medium that's going to be too light for me. Or paying for something like this that is far too dark and it's going to look streaky on my skin. These, once again, I purchased them all because at one point in time I was freelancing and I need to know what worked and what I could use across the board. So having all three of these palettes makes sense to be able to please everyone, but as an individual sitting at home doing my makeup, I don't need them all. Give me the one I can use, sell me her, keep these two, and now I have some money to go buy something else. And I feel happy knowing I can use all the products because I paid for them all. So at number one, the universal thing you can stop buying, contour palettes. Next up at number two, we're gonna go to the other side of things because after contouring, I really love to do my highlighting. So at number two, the thing you need to stop buying is universal highlighting palettes. Now ma'am, if you are someone like me who started off, I know we all like our glow, honey. I am someone who really loves glowy skin. And considering I have oily skin, highlighter is one of the very last things I get into because I was all about that baking. I figured I had a natural glow, I don't need that. But once I got into it, baby, it wasn't no looking back. Once you fall in love with highlighter, ain't no going back, honey. But the last thing we need to be buying is highlighter palettes that fit everybody, because once again, we all only have our skin tone. My skin tone doesn't look like everybody's out there. So if you sell me a palette where my shade is in there, her shade is in there, her shade is in there, her shade is in there, and we all have different skin tones, chances are there's a color in there that's going to be either A, too light for me, or B, too dark for me, which means I'm never going to use it, even though I paid for it, which is always considered a waste of money and or product. If you don't use it but you pay for it, it's a waste. It's one thing to use it every now and then, but to say I can never use that shade because it will never look flattering on me, nope, we're not doing that no more. We saving our money and we buying what fits for us. And I'm guilty of that with two different things here. The first one here is the ABH Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit. She's stunning. The formula is beautiful, the colors are beautiful, but just looking at this right here, you see my face, you see these colors, honey. You can already tell, just at this top row, this shade here, if it fits your skin tone, more than likely, this one here won't. Chances are, if you can fit this, and this looks beautiful, and this looks flattering on your skin, chances are this one won't. And if this one fits, and with this undertone that you see here, am I supposed to believe this nice pink one is going to fit you as well? There are very few people who are right there in that medium skin tone range who are going to be able to wear all of these shades. If you have a very fair skin tone, some of these darker shades are not going to look like a highlight because they're darker than your skin. And if you have a rich, deep melanated skin tone, some of these paler, lighter shades are going to look ashy on you, and it's not going to look like you have a glow. It's going to look like you need some lotion. So that's not going to fit everybody. So why would we buy this? Me, I bought it to review for YouTube. I bought it because I used to freelance, and I like Nicole Guerrero. So to me, this was that collector's item that sold out the first time because I truly did not feel as if I needed it, so I didn't buy it. But when it relaunched and I realized, one, I don't have it, but I could use it for review purposes on YouTube, that's what made me get it. If you don't have it, trust me, honey, you don't need it, because it is extremely rare that someone can fit every skin tone shade in a highlighting palette. We don't need it like this. Another one that I use, and I love is this one here. The Nikki Tutorials Highlighting Trio with Ofra. I love this palette. But the reason I absolutely love it is because I wanted this shade here, Space Baby, which is a blue duochrome highlighter. I used this recently in my Wahala 2 tutorial. I'll leave that video linked right here above. But I bought this palette because, one, to support Nikki Tutorials, and two, because it was cheaper to buy this on sale at half price than it was to buy this individual shade by itself. The full size of this didn't go on sale, and I figured, why would I want to pay that much when I can get this whole palette and have a wide skin tone range of shades? Then to find out that Nikki Tutorials, who has a very fair skin tone, absolutely love this shade here, Space Baby, meant I always have a highlighter in my collection that will fit even the most fairest of skin tones, and it provides a very high shine, meaning I knew I could go in with a very light hand if need be, but if I wanted something blinding for a very fair skin tone, I knew I always had it. And then to come in on the end with this shade Glow Goals, something that was deeper than my personal skin tone. So although this did not fit every skin tone, I knew I had something for very light and very deep skin tones here, so it made sense to purchase that. And just like with the first one, I wanted to show you an exception to those things. For me, the perfect time to purchase a highlighter palette is when you're going to get more bang for your buck. Just like with this one here, this is an Ofra highlighter called All of the Lights. I absolutely love this highlighter simply because this is my personal use one here. Because this is 4 highlighters from Ofra Cosmetics. They're all in their full-time range, but it's a split pan. So right here you have Rodeo Drive, which is actually my skin tone shade. If I ever needed one everyday universal color I could use on any look, I know Rodeo Drive is it for me. But then they have 3 different other colors, and for me, I didn't see the need to go ahead and add these palettes to my collection because of the price, and I generally just like the MAC ones a little bit more on clients. But I wanted something for myself where if I wanted to do a different look, especially for eyeshadows, I could have that. So knowing this one here comes with Blissful, which is a very pink tone shadow. We have Star Island, which is a much lighter gold, as well as Pillow Talk here, which is much more neutral. I knew it gave me a wide skin tone range of shades to play with, and on my skin tone, if for any reason it did not come off flattering, I could always mix it with my shade to make it better. Let's say, like here, Blissful. This is very pink, but if I don't want it stark pink, I can mix these two because my shade is naturally a nice yellow gold and get myself a rose gold by mixing those two. So for me, I saw this as a 4-in-1 in my personal collection. I'm never going to use an entire highlighter, and instead of paying for one pan that has my perfect shade, I now have 4 shades of highlighter and only had to pay for one. So to me, this is the perfect highlighting palette in my opinion, because I'm not getting a bunch of shades I can't use and I'm not paying extra for it. It would have cost me the exact same amount of money and it would have come in the exact same packaging if I would have bought this by itself. But now I can play around and use these as eyeshadows because that's something I'm willing to do. Another example of a good highlighting palette is one where you can use all of the shades, such as this one here, the KVD Vegan Beauty Alchemist palette. Now this is a face and eye highlighting palette, and when you open it up here, you notice that these are 4, oh, I just gouged it that fast, whoops. When you open this up here, you notice you have 4 different shades. You have Emerald, which is a green. You have Ultraviolet, which is a purple. You have Sapphire, which is a blue. And you have Opal, which is a pink. This It's perfect to use either as a dual chrome highlighter, as an eyeshadow topper, or my favorite way, as an inner corner and a brow bone highlight for colorful looks. If I'm doing an all green eyeshadow look, I know I can take this, top this off by rubbing it right across with my finger, or getting a brush, doing my inner corner of my brows, and it'll be complementary because it has a sheer base, but it does have those reflective pearls that will show through. So to me, this is when a highlighting palette comes into play, because they're all different shades that I can use on any rainbow look. And I don't have to just do that green with the green. I love doing greens with purples, so an all green look with this purple here in the inner corner or the brows, give it an extra flair, and I know all 4 shades fit any skin tone. Whether you're very fair or very deep, all 4 shades will work for you. So this is an example of a universal flattering highlighting palette that you should buy. Most regulars that have neutral highlighting shades, be gone, honey, because you're only going to be able to use a few and you're going to have to get rid of the rest. Next up, at number 3 for universal things you need to stop buying, baby, this one might be the most controversial one of them all, but I'm calling them out, and I am so tired of brands selling things that they call universal powders. Anytime I hear the word, I instantly go like, I bet you it's not. I just be sitting there like, I bet you it's not. And more often it's not, and they love using that famous word, translucent. Translucent powders appear translucent if they fit your skin tone. If you are someone who has a very warm yellow undertone to your skin and you have some melanin like I do, there is nothing like finding out a brand has put out a universal powder, and when you look at it, you can tell that it has a pink undertone to it. And you're going, universal for who? The one that comes closest to mind for me, although I absolutely love the brand, and they now have a powder that I love and can use on a regular basis. When I first got into makeup, baby, and they sold it to me, I questioned myself so much because I could not figure out why I could not get this powder to work when they told me it works for everybody. I thought I was doing something wrong. And that is this Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. Their original Mineral Veil is their best-selling powder. People absolutely love this powder, but I don't care what nobody say. Is it a translucent powder? Yes. But this thing has a pink undertone, and because my skin tone is very yellow, I could always tell when I was wearing it. My makeup would always look good up until the point I went in and tried to bake with this powder. Not only were Bare Minerals never endorsed baking, so the fact that I was putting on that much made it that much more easier to notice this was not my skin tone. Another brand that was famous for their translucent powder, because at the time that was the only shade they had, Laura Mercier. Now Laura Mercier's powder was not pink toned, it was truly much more yellow toned, but to me it was always just a little too light to the point where I could tell that I was wearing it, especially if I was baking, and I always wanted them to come out with something a little darker and a little deeper. They eventually came out with translucent medium deep, but he was too dark and he just completely made everything look muddy on me, and I'm like, okay, let's mix the two, let's try to get that going. Even when I did that, the color was off because this is yellow based, this looks more brown, and I'm like, it just always looked muddy. Finally, they came through for the girls this year, did a translucent, honey. Baby, she is a beautiful powder. She is a beautiful powder. And when I tell you, even when I was freelancing, this one here looked amazing on people with a much lighter skin tone. Even people who were like just a few shades lighter than me absolutely love this powder. But I always felt as if it did not quite give me the richness and color that I wanted. And translucent or not, I was never completely satisfied with it. And like I said on the other end, this was so dark that there was no need to put this underneath my eye because you're darker than even my contour areas, so I couldn't do anything with you. But my translucent honey, she got a nice yellow hue to her, and I absolutely love her. Another brand that got me with their translucent was the Cover FX. They're universal translucent. They got a translucent light and a translucent deep. Just like with Laura Mercier. This one's too light, this one's too dark, and mixing them doesn't give me the correct color, so I don't use either one. If you are somebody who, like me, had a hard time trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to use, and you need to know exactly what powder is translucent and works across the board, there isn't one. Not if she's translucent. Translucent means it has a little bit of color to it, but it won't really alter the color underneath it. But if it's not your color, you gonna notice the color change. What you need is a completely colorless powder. You need a colorless powder because, once again, that's what it says. It doesn't have any color to it, so it's not gonna change the colors that are underneath it. My absolute favorite, the RCMA No Color Powder. It looks white here in the container simply because all particles either absorb or reflect light. So of course you have to be able to see that there's product in here. But when I tell you, I don't care how fair you are, I don't care how deep you are. This no color powder does just that. She'll set you without changing your color. And many brands make things like this, but this is the most infamous that I know. I know Laura Mercier even has a colorless powder that she sells, but it's not quite as popular as her translucent, so you barely hear about them. But if you need a powder, buying translucent powders only work if you find the one that suits your skin tone. If you go in trying to buy the brand's universal powder, it'll suit most of their customers, but you're always going to have that group of people who are truly upset that you said this works for them and they've purchased it and it does not. Which is why now you see more brands doing a much more larger range of colors. Look at Fenty Beauty and how many powders they have. And if you are someone who does pro makeup, you know just how many powders somebody like Ben Nye has, where literally they even have a white powder. They have a colorless powder and a white powder. They have pale pink powders. They have rich yellow powders, brown powder that were literally, like I said, from Nikki Tutorials to Nima Tang, they got them covered. But if you don't want to go in for a specific color for your specific skin tone, get you a colorless powder, not a translucent one, because this will save you. At number 4, baby. The thing that honestly, I don't think I need to tell most people about, but there are still some of y'all out there who, like me, in the beginning of your makeup journey, you bought it because it looked pretty and you thought of all the different things you were going to be able to do with it. And for most people, you find out real soon it's just not your format and you just don't use it. So at number 4, the universal item you need to stop buying, lip palettes. I'm someone who love lip palettes. 1, because lips are my favorite part of the body, and 2, I used to freelance. So not knowing exactly who was going to come in, you did not want to carry around 10 different shades of nude bullets, 10 different shades of reds, 10 different shades of oranges and things like that, because you never knew what color store you were going to work with, and you definitely didn't want to have to sit down taking the time pulling out all of those different bullets. You wanted to have a few concise colors that you knew you can mix and match and keep on going. And for a pro, that's where a lip palette would shine, because you would be able to go in, use different shades, mix them, and get whatever color you wanted. For the average everyday girl, they're going in, they're taking one color, picking it up, putting it on. If they don't like it, more than likely, they're gonna move on to the next shade. If they find one color that they like and they can put it on straight out of the pan and keep it moving, why would they then go in and find another shade in that palette that has to be worked? You have to mix a little white to lighten it, or a little black to deepen it, a little yellow to warm it up, or a little blue to cool it. They're not gonna go through all of that. If they're not doing a photo event or something like that, they don't wanna take that, especially considering that most times, lip products need to be touched up throughout the day. So most people find grabbing themselves a bullet lipstick and moving out the door is all they need to do. So although a palette like this is absolutely beautiful, I bought this from the NARS and Erdem collection. Someone like me would not mind carrying this with me and trying out different shades because I have many lip brushes. I don't mind switching up the colors because it'll let me know what new colors I can come up with. I can test out ombre looks and things like that. But the average girl is never going to do so. So there's no need of wasting your time and your money doing this because once again, you're going to need an additional tool to use this. You're not just going to dip your fingers in and keep it moving. You're more than likely going to need a lip brush, and that's something that can be very difficult to clean depending on the formula of the lipsticks. So most women are going to skip out. What I would recommend, if for any reason you do want to do a lip palette, instead of going in and purchasing one like that where there are a wide variety of colors that you may not know that you like, what I would say is pick what shade range you like and buy a small lip palette that features those colors. Especially if those individual palettes contain shades that you can purchase as a full-size bullet lipstick once you tested them all out and realize what you like. Right now, especially during this pandemic, it is truly advised that we wear our masks, especially in public. But the one thing that's never been recommended is testing out testers, especially things like lipsticks when you're in store. During these times, I would really not recommend it. But if you do not know exactly, let's say, what shade of nude you wanted to wear, MAC Cosmetics makes amazing lip palettes. And these are items that I've had in my kit for years because I've always wanted to have them. I never wanted to carry around a bunch of different bullets, have to pop caps off, scrape some off, keep on going, things like that. And it's very hard to keep disinfecting and putting those back in. But when you got something like this, which is a brown lip palette, you get 6 different shades. And I believe these are somewhere between the $20 and $25 range. So when you think of a full individual lipstick being $19 and I can get 6 of these for less than $25, it'll give me the chance to play around with 6 different shades, figure out which one I like, and most of the shades in here can be purchased individually. So that way, I've had time to play with different colors, different formulas, and when it comes time to repurchase, I really don't have to because I know exactly what I like. But you'll get to be able to play with this year-round because you have your lighter shades, you have your darker shades, you have shades that lean more neutral, more warm, things like that. And so you get a variety, and to me, this is when it's worth doing a lip palette. When they're all in the shade range that I know, even on my worst day, if I like brown lipstick, this lightest one to this darkest one can all either be worn alone or with a lip liner, and I'll feel comfortable because this is in the shade range I love. And I have them in different ranges, so once again, I'm someone who likes the nudes, which is why this one has so many gouges in it. I absolutely love nude lipsticks. They were my favorites on clients. They're my favorite on myself. So getting a palette like this makes more sense to me than buying all 6 as individuals. Here's the orange one. Another beautiful assortment, but as someone who would never go in and buy 6 individual orange shades for my personal collection, having just this gives me variety, gives me different things to play with here on YouTube, and I don't have to spend a load of money to get a color I want. If I want an orange lipstick, I know I have several. Same thing for pinks. Look at those. You got a wide variety of pinks. Whether you want to go neutral or go bold, you covered. Plum shades, anyone? I don't have to go out and buy a purple lipstick because I got 6 of them right here. And you can see how much she's been played with because baby, anytime I had a client come up to me, they were getting their makeup done and they used to always say, oh, I just wish you had a purple lipstick. I always wanted to try it. Their eyes would light up when they would see this. When they realize, baby, I might not have a purple bullet lipstick I can use, but we got 6 different shades for you to sit down and figure out and play with, she was always a fan favorite. And the one I use absolute most is the red one, and I cannot find it. I don't know exactly where it is, so I can't show that one, but for sure I'm gonna be calling my sister after I get through recording this video to make sure she ain't got it. And last but not least, number 5 on the list, the universal thing you can stop buying. I think for me, this is just my opinion, but when I just check across the board, most people agree with me that it just needs to stop. We understand the brand is trying to give you bang for your buck, but most people just genuinely do not like them, and that is double-ended brushes. When I first heard of double-ended brushes, before I really got into makeup, it was all the rage of getting, more for your money, where, you're saving this much money, it's worth this, this, this. And a lot of brands used to sell double-ended brushes, telling you, let's say if they sold the brush for $10 individually, they would tell you this double-ended brush is now worth $20 because you're getting two different brush heads. It's like, no ma'am, I'm only getting one brush. It may have two handles, but it's still one handle. I still can only pick them up one at a time. Like, no, we're gonna call him one brush. And although all of these brushes here that I have are amazing quality and I absolutely love them, the one thing you'll notice is I have two of each because I hate double-ended brushes. I am someone who tends to store my brushes like this, either in a glass jar or in a cup. And they all sit up like this so that I can see exactly which brush head I want to use. I can look and go, which one do I want to use you today, and grab you. And I know putting you in like this, when I drop you, even if you make that little noise, you more than likely will damage the tip of the brush than you would the important bristle heads that I want to preserve and protect. Considering this is a double-ended brush, if this is the side of the brush that I want to use, more than likely I'm going to dip into some shadow, get the blending, keep it moving, and when I want to put him down, he has to go in that cup with the rest of the brushes. I don't want to lay this flat right here on my counter because the product on this end is now on my counter, which now has to be cleaned. But if I put this brush in the cup like that, this end of the brush is no longer able to be seen, and it's a really good smudger brush on that end. But once I get through with this side, I'm not going to want to flip him over, use this side, and then put it in the cup. Because now the bottom of the cup is filthy, and all the bottom of the handles that it touch are now filthy. So I'm only going to use one end of the brush, and then toss him to the side. And if I want to use the smudger brush, I now have to pull out this one and use the smudger end and wash two brushes because I've used two brushes. I don't want to use both sides and have one dirty side down there smudging the bottom of my container. I want to wash that every week, not every day like these brushes. Same thing here with this NYX silicone brush. It's a dual-ended brush. Both sides have a silicone head to them. The thing is, if you look at them, you'll notice one is much larger than the other. And because of that, just like any other brush, I find which side I like more and I use him and the other side doesn't get used. I find that not only does this smaller end pick up more product, it applies it a lot easier because it's completely flat. This larger end has a curve to it, so it only picks up product in certain areas. So I have multiple of these because it's the most affordable brush that I can find that applies glitter very beautifully, but I never use them because I had this Makeup Forever one. I think this one is like $7 to $10 more than the NYX one, but because it has one solid handle and I can drop this tip in the bottom of a can and not worry about damaging it, I don't want to carry this one. And then not only that, silicone, whether you use it or not, it just seems to attract all the dust and dirt particles in the world. It seems like if you drop one of these brushes in a cup with another brush that had powder product on it, it's going to absorb and pick up that powder product. So I would rather have to wash just this one end of the brush that I used, knowing that the other end did not collect it all, than to have to use this double-ended brush, knowing when I use this side is guaranteed to get dirty as well, just because it's silicone. It's going to pick up and attract that dirt and moisture and those cosmetic products from the other cup. So although I own many more of these because they are affordable, I'm always using this one because he's more practical. He may be more expensive, but because you're less stressful in my life, I'm not going to use your double-ended self here when I have one ended here. Once again, the brush quality is amazing, but the Fast Face brush by Lip Bar, I love this brush. This end here, go in beautiful, get you a nice good contour going, dip it into your blush, sweep it right across because it has a nice fat, thick, kabuki size style going on. And it's not so fat and dense that you're worried about streaking your product. It's fluffy and dense and beautiful at the same time. It has a nice weight to it. This side here, I know I can go in, set underneath my eyes, keep it moving. I can go in, dust on some highlighter, keep it going. I love this brush, but I find myself more than likely using this end of the brush more often than this end, simply because when I think of putting these into that cup, once again, all brushes go in the cup as I'm using it. This just looks like he'll lay flatter in the cup and cause less damage. Whoop! Baby, talk about causing damage. I feel much more comfortable in my head knowing that this is going to store a lot better right here than the tip of this one smashing in and, you know, throwing off my brush, and it's like, oh no, I don't ever want to do that. So I bought a backup. If I ever decide I want to use the contour in, I'll have it. I haven't found the urge to do it just because I don't want to damage my lip bar brush, because at one point in time it was hard to get them. So once I got me a backup, I'm like, no, we holding on, sis. But this is another one where it's like, honey, double-ended brushes, you got to go, honey. Break this up, sell them as 2 individual brushes. I pay for it. But the fans is probably so geeked and so sold on having a double-ended one that they probably don't want it on this one. And just because I want to be extra today, we're going to go ahead and throw in a little extra one for y'all. And although these aren't necessarily sold as universal, they are just some of my personal favorite items. And I think they all just fit this one category that we all can agree we all need to stop buying. And for that honorable mention, I'm just going to say backups. When it comes to makeup, honey, at one point in time, we were using things every day. We were going out all the time. We were on social media and all of that. Considering that we are in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of things we truly do not need backups of any longer, specifically lip products. I am someone who has so many backups of lip glosses and lipsticks that I absolutely love, and it's coming to my realization that it's no longer necessary. It is no need to have this many backups. First up, Fenty Glow. This is easily my most used, most worn, most recommended, most repurchased lip gloss of all time in my collection. So to have a backup of this to me doesn't seem weird, except the fact I work more days a week than I'm off, and I'm always wearing a mask, so I only get to enjoy my lip gloss up until the point I go to work. So to have full size here, I have used it, but she's mostly full, so I got a while to go. Right here, have a backup, unopened, unused. So I have a full size and a backup. I also have this one here that I took the label off of because this was the one that came out of my kit, and it always reminded me, if for any reason they got mixed up, exactly which one was my kit and which ones were mine. And she's full size because I haven't been working on clients this year. 3 tubes of the exact same lip gloss. I don't need another. But then Rihanna dropped this. This is the Fenty Glow Trio from this year's holiday collection. And guess what it comes with? A cream blush, a highlighter, and another full-size lip gloss. So now I have 4 of the exact same shade. I don't need 4 of these. Not only do I have these 4, but in this formula alone, I have all 14 shades that were ever released. All 14 shades that have ever been released in this formula I have. How long does it take you to get through 14 glosses? See my point? So with that being said, considering I have one for myself, one as a backup, one for clients, number 4, you're not needed. So I'm going to take my cream blush that I like. I'm going to take my highlighter that I like, and I'm going to put those to the side. This one here, I don't need. So this can go to a giveaway for you all, and I'll announce that giveaway later on, but there's no need to hold on to this. There's no need to hold on to this. You all can have this. It's not open, but it's not individually wrapped, but I don't need this, and someone else can have it because I don't need a backup of this. Another thing that I don't need a backup of, mascaras. Got my Fenty Beauty Full Frontal Volume Lift and Curl Mascara. Absolutely love it. Been using it for at least, what, 2-3 months. Still feel nice and heavy, so I know there's plenty of product in here. But I bought this holiday set. And guess what she comes with? I wanted this eyeshadow palette, and the only way to get it was to buy it in this set, which came with a mini mascara. Considering I'm going through this, and right here in front of me alone is at least 6 different other mascaras that I'm testing out, I don't need a whole nother mini of the one I'm using every day. Mascara goes bad a lot faster than any other products. In general, liquid and cream products go faster than powder products. So what I'm going to do with this, take the eyeshadow palette that I wanted and put this mascara in a giveaway because it's a backup that I do not need. I don't need this backup. This is a full-time item, and if at any time I want it, a year, 2 years from now, I can get this as well as that gloss. There's no need for this backup. I'm never gonna run through it so fast that I'm gonna use this as well. She can go. You all can have that in the giveaway. Now, where I truly do recommend backups is when you know you are going to use up the item you have and you have actually repurchased it before, or you know I'm going to use it so fast, I will need to repurchase it. One of those items would be like this. One of my other absolute favorite lip glosses. This is probably my #2 most repurchased, and I've gone through many tubes of this, and this is the Pat McGrath Lust Gloss and Bronze Temptation. She's just a little mini. And considering the fact I've purchased at least 2 or 3 of the other full sizes, I know that I can run through this mini. This is just something I can carry with me, not worried about getting damaged or lost because she's just a mini. So to purchase the full size as a backup makes perfect sense because she's already halfway empty. I know this will be gone by the end of the year. So to make sure I have this for New Year's makes perfect sense to me. Something like this, where I got so many that I'm gonna have some next year, we don't need to do that, sis, and y'all don't either. But I hope you all truly enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment down below if you all have ever purchased any of these universal things and you have come to realize, just like I did, this product either A, isn't as universal as they said it was, or B, you don't get as much use out of that product as you do something that's more tailored to your skin tone, because at the end of the day, makeup is something that you should use that makes you happy. If everybody else is using a product and they absolutely love it, but you tried it and you don't, that is okay, move on. There are enough products in the market nowadays where you do not have to settle for anything. You can find the pigmentation you want, the packaging you want, the price level you want. Like, we no longer have to settle and choose, and brands are now realizing they have to please us, the customers, not the other way around. But I truly hope you all did enjoy this video. Before you leave, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're already subscribed, I want to say thank you. Make sure you hit that notification bell. But with nothing else, remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.